All right, everybody, how are you doing? Hopefully things are going well. You are excited. You are looking forward to right now. And we are going to jump in. We're going to go fast. We're going to be very direct. Hopefully you are ready to take lots of notes because there's a significant amount of information to go over to make sure that you comprehend, not only just catch it, but are in a position to use it once we're done. Many of you may have heard me say before on the podcast, YouTube, somewhere, move at the speed of instruction. And that's a lot of what we're going to be doing and hopefully sharing with you today is the information that you need to do exactly that. Now, this is your first time here for this particular series. Welcome, number one. Hi, my name is Jay. And what we are doing is we're going through helping you guys get started when it comes to building your short-term rental business. So if this is day 3, so if for some reason you've missed day 1 and 2, you're gonna wanna look there on the units section. So if you're on a desktop, that's where it is. And then if you're on a mobile device, it's right there. So, and one of the 2 places is where you need to be so that you can go find days 1 and 2. Here's why. You should have in your possession at this moment a workbook. And on that workbook, this is today's sheet, by the way, on that workbook, or inside that workbook, I should say, is a significant number of, well, questions and answers, and ultimately information that you can use, should use, hopefully will be using, if not haven't already used, to go out there and build your business. It is literally the foundations. We are going through step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. This is what you need to do. To recap that, day 1, we talked about why short-term rentals. And during the why part of short-term rentals, if you will, it's all about understanding that who you want to serve. And we gave you a worksheet that you needed to complete. Day 2, we talked all about how to find the money yesterday. And I gave you a very clear, very easy, very simple path to follow in order to get yourself to the point to where you can raise capital. You know the exact model, funnel, etc. pathway to take someone from stranger all the way through the process to where they end up at becoming a customer, i.e. someone who actually invests in your short-term rental business. Now, some of you already know where the money is, and that's good. But those of you who don't, we also had a script because oftentimes people tell me, well, I don't know anybody. Well, okay, that is one way. And then we gave you a script of what to do with the people that you do know so that you can get to where you need to be. Today, we're going to be talking about how to get the landlord to say yes, period. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So before we get started, for those of you that ever had that question, do me a favor, type in the chat. Let me know your name and where you're from, because what I want to make sure is that you guys, you're hearing me. I'm going to ask you to type in the chat a lot because ultimately this is about your retention. Understand, the CashFlowDiary team, we already know the answers. We already do this. And what we want to do is make sure that you are tracking along with us. So what does that mean? That means when I ask a question, you put the answer in the chat. I may ask you for the thumbs up or emojis. Who knows? Pay attention and let's get ready to go. Now, with us today, we have Stephanie, we have Corinne, we have Robert, we have Jeremy, we have John and Wendy. They're here to assist you in helping you to understand, making sure that if for some reason, like when I said, do you have the workbook? For some reason you don't have it, you have been assigned someone. Check your Facebook direct messages because they already sent you a message, and you know exactly who it is that you can reach out to so that you can get any resource, any tool, anything that might have been missing as well. All right. So today, as I said, we're going to be talking about how to get the landlords to say yes. And obviously, if we're going to run what is technically an arbitrage model, which means you're going to lease the properties before you purchase them. That is strategic, that is intentional, and that is designed to give you a higher cash on cash return. What that simply means is between 10 to 18 months, you have your cash back. I'll say that again, just in case you didn't catch it. What that means is If you were to invest 100 grand, 200, 50, 20, whatever the numbers are, within 10 to 18 months, you have your cash back. And if you really think about it, you also have the business too. Understand, you end up with 2 assets instead of 1. You are literally multiplying, right, your assets so that you have the capacity to purchase bigger, better, or higher quality assets as you continue to go down this pipeline. But in order to do that, you got to get the landlord to say yes. And that has been a place that I know many people have been stuck from time to time. So what I want to do is make sure that you are properly prepared, that you are absolutely ready, and that you have all of the understanding that you need to be able to execute. See, once you understand the problem or the pain that the landlord is experiencing, then and only then do you have a chance at presenting yourself as the solution. Let me be just a little bit more clear. Because see, many times, in fact, maybe even right now, as I said it, you said, oh, I already got that, Jay. I know exactly what their pain is. Wonderful. And also irrelevant. Here's why. When you're having a conversation with someone, if I haven't told you, like if you and I were having a conversation, if I haven't told you what my pain is, or that I have a pain in some way, shape, or form, if I haven't been willing to admit it in some way to you, preferably verbally, where it's really clear, then I do not care what you think you know. Until you have given me an opportunity to explain my pain in my words, you are just telling me what you think I'm going through. What that means is most people tend to approach landlords with the wrong attitude around how you just want to make sure that ultimately what you're doing is that you're solving a problem. And there's a way to do that. There's a way to help someone solve their problem. But that means or presupposes that you actually understand their problem. For example, the average length of stay at a short-term rental, BC, before coronavirus, is 5.6 days. Okay, so if you're in the chat right now, I'm curious. It's a simple word. You can. It's really easy. Do you think before coronavirus it was 5.6 days? But do you think now that the average length of stay is longer or shorter? Give me a thumbs up for longer, a thumbs down for shorter. Do you think it's longer or shorter? Because see, understanding how your solution, your business model solves problems for the landlord is key here. And that's what we're doing is that as we continue today, I'm going to give you many different things that solves the problem for the landlord. And I even have a special tool that's not only going to help you do the homework from day one, and for those of you who are actually doing it, you are making great progress. But if you take the time to do what we're going to pass out to you today, you'll get better at raising the capital that we talked about yesterday. And then you'll get really great at getting landlords to say yes. All of those things are going to happen, but you've got to be willing to try. So let's see. Do you think it's longer or shorter? Yes, you guys are generally right. Yes, it is definitely a longer situation right now. Right now, the length of stay is longer, which is actually a good thing. Let me tell you one of the reasons why. When someone stays longer and you can count on them staying longer, that gives you more time to go expand your business. That's what it does. So just understand that, okay? Now, every time the person or the guest, the person that's staying there vacates, obviously it has to be cleaned, right? Well, see, the advantage of even a longer length of stay is that we can guarantee that the unit is going to be professionally cleaned. Think about it. When's the last time you looked on the top of your refrigerator. Now, some of you, you've been in quarantine a while. You might have just done it recently. But outside of that, did you do it? Do you understand what I'm saying? If you have a ceiling fan, have you cleaned the top of that thing yet? What about the top of the blinds? Does every doorknob and door handle, sliding glass door and or toilet seat handle, is that called a handle? Whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Does it work? Do you know? See, one of the things that you, as the short-term rental operator, are going to be bringing to the table for the landlord is consistent maintenance, especially on a lot of those small things, which means we actually keep the property in better condition, because under normal circumstances, most people do not have the intention of spending time in the unit. That's not what they're doing. They're not traveling to the area to just hang out in the unit. Now, depending on where you are geographically, so stay at home, this, that, and the other. So they may and likely are spending way more time in the unit than they normally would. However, obviously that's not going to last forever, but that may be the case right now. But understand, that was not their intention. They didn't leave their home just to come and hang out in your unit. There was other things that brought them to the area, and it's those things that they are normally doing outside the unit. It's really key that you begin to understand that. As you begin to understand that, here's another thing that's a great advantage, especially right now. Payment will be more consistent when a landlord rents to you, because the landlord will have less maintenance and leasing and or managerial fees, if you think about it. Because that doesn't mean the landlord doesn't need a property manager, but it does mean that they could possibly renegotiate their agreement, their contract with their property manager, so that they're in a position to say, look, you're having to provide significantly less services than you normally would at any of our other locations. So maybe that's worth a little bit less on this particular building. See, there are many things that you're bringing to the table. And if you understand them, if you understand the problem, you can easily become a solution, and you can ask questions around these things instead of assuming that what you have learned or know to be true. Now, one of the things, in fact, that's also important, is insurance. And as a short-term rental operator, obviously we carry more. Usually I like to carry up to $1 million per door, which basically means if I've got 5 of your doors, I got $5 million of insurance, because that makes me feel better. And it covers the landlord too, which again, the tenant insurance most tenants have in place primarily covers their stuff, not necessarily the landlord. Again, another advantage, right? And to say that we have increased security is kind of an understatement. Now, a lot of people try to skip this. They think it's not important. Oh, I got a better way. This is just as good. Now, here's the good news. You're talking to a military kid. So grew up overseas, always concerned about security, did not leave the house without taking his identification. Could not, it just would not happen. Wouldn't even take out the trash. You know what I'm saying? You go to take out the trash, you put your ID in your pocket because you just don't know. Security has always been drilled into the top of my head all the time. All the time. And it is one of the number one concerns of every guest that stays at your location. Will I be safe? It is not safe to not change the code in between guests. Yeah, it's convenient for you, but that is the wrong mindset. It is not safe, but please stop using keys. I'm just going to ask you, please stop. All right? Because you don't know if they made a copy or not, because you don't know, right? And you don't know what's going on your property unless you have eyes on it. So if you don't have a way to monitor all the appropriate spaces, especially and only the external ones, because you're not going to violate anyone's privacy. But if you, Like, oh no, my guests are never any problem. No, they're doing stuff. You just don't know it. Okay. And the neighbors are dealing with it, and that makes it worse because you don't find out about it until it's too late and there was or is a problem. Security is huge. And if you have someone who doesn't feel safe, they will leave. I promise you this. Okay. Now, all of these things are a part of the solution that we bring as operators to the table. Okay. So remember what I said though, and get ready to write this in the chat. Prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. Now, I know I used very long words. That's fine. I'll give you some time to type that. Prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. All right. And it's very similar to what we talked about yesterday in terms of the process. See, I know that part of the challenge is that you're like, okay, I understand all that, Jay, but what do I say to them? Got it. And, or what do I say when they say this? And what about that? And what about this? And what about this? And got it. So now I'm going to have to challenge your pride, ego, and everything else because I'm going to present to you yet another simple technique. Simple means it's easy, and easy means you can do it, but that does not lessen the impact of what's on the other side just because it's simple and or easy. So I'm going to give you the exact words of what to say. And then I'm going to give you the exact words to the two most common questions and or objections or things that you are concerned about that come up. And depending on your desire, your true desire to actually become a master, just like we talked about, I'm going to hand you an expert tool, period. It's like keys to a Lamborghini. I used to like a Lamborghini, by the way, except I don't fit. I didn't realize that. And then the day I found out I was literally at the dealership wanting to test drive. And I couldn't get behind the wheel. I was so mad. I'm like, what is this? Anyway, but if I handed you the keys to a Lamborghini and today was day one of you learning how to drive, probably not a good idea, right? Because you're going to mess up that car. If not yourself or someone else, because it's still an expert tool. It's not the Lamborghini's fault that you can't get out of first or go in reverse. It's not the Lamborghini's fault. So it's not the tool. A poor workman blames his tools, but that's a whole nother story. It's you learning how to become an expert using expert tools. So I'm going to hand you another expert tool. So I delayed long enough to get you ready to give you the script. Here it comes. When you are talking to an owner-controlled building, so there you are now talking to the owner, it is a very simple process. It's, hi, my name is Jay. My company and I are looking to lease a number of properties in the area. Are you the right person to talk to about that? That's it. It is not more complicated than that. You can make it more complicated. You can try to be fancy. You can try to prove how much you know, and you will get more no's. Or you can say, hi, my name is Jay. My company and I are looking to lease a number of properties in the area. Are you the right person to talk to about that? See, what I like about this is that if it is the right person, you will be able to easily continue the conversation. If it's the wrong person, you know what they're going to do? They're going to get you to the right person. And I like that. You should like that. Everybody loves that. So let's do it one more time. Hi, my name is Jay. My company and I are looking to lease a number of properties in the area. Are you the right person to talk to about that? Okay. Now, when they answer that question, yes, I am, great. The purpose of this phone call is to do one thing. That's to get an appointment to go see the property, preferably in person. And yes, even still today, Yes, you can do a virtual showing, but yes, you can still see and walk property today, right? They can open the door, stay in their car, which will be more than 6 feet away. You wear your mask, walk around, do your thing. Okay, so there's still a way to do it, but you go see the property. Okay, ultimately, that's what we're talking about. That's what you want. That's all you want. You have no other objective. This is not the time to try to get fancy or think you are speeding the process along or being more efficient by using different words. The two questions, though, that you're thinking about is, one, what if they ask me, Jay, or what if is this Airbnb? I understand. And number two, you also concerned about, like, what does your company do? Well, here's the good news. The good news is you actually already have the answer, assuming you did the homework. Because see, on the first day, I asked you to begin to determine who it is that you want to serve. So when someone asks, what does your company do? Understand that they're asking, what does your company do? Not, how do you acquire your customers? Those are two completely different questions. What your customer or what your company does versus how you acquire the customer, two completely different questions. Most people, what does your company do? Their response is, oh, I have an Airbnb business. Now, you guys already know I don't like that phrase for so many reasons, because it limits your opportunity, your vision, and it gives people permission to prejudge you. And if that's what you want, to be prejudged and be told no, then you can continue to say, I have an Airbnb business. Totally understand. Knock yourself out. However, if you are willing to adapt and begin to communicate who it is that you serve, now you're going to win. How many of you, do me a favor, give me a little thumbs up in the chat. Would you like to hear me go through a couple of examples of people that we serve and what it sounds like? Give me a couple of thumbs up in the chat, because I just want to make sure that you are still with me. Here's the deal. I know you want to, you are tempted, you are feeling like, oh, but I got to tell them, I want to tell them everything. Because yes, the business model is awesome. And yes, because of everything that has happened, here's the thing. I see into the future lots of increased demand for what we do. Simply because people aren't going to want to do things like sit in a hotel lobby with a lot of people. They're not going to want to touch the elevator in a hotel. Think about it. There are very simple things that you have to do that people are no longer going to be willing or want to do. Consumer behavior is changing. And hotels, or any business model for that matter, that is built upon density and volume is undergoing massive change. Fortunately for the short-term rental provider, we're in the perfect situation to assist the customer who still needs to travel to the area. Okay, I see, I see lots of thumbs. Angela, you got me all kinds of cracking up right here. I don't know that you could include any more thumbs right there. Like, how many hands you got, girl? I love it. All right. So, Angela was very, very clear about what she's after here. When someone asks, what does your company do? I respond with, who do you serve? Like so. Well, you know how the hospital is down the street right there? Yeah. Well, what we do is that there's a number of outpatient procedures that they do related to cancer and whatnot that sometimes take multiple days, if not weeks. Well, what we like to do is we like to work with those patients to provide them a clean, safe, affordable place to stay, so that instead of having to live in a cramped hotel and or eat out every night because hotels don't have the kitchen, we like to work with quality landlords like yourself so that they can have a better experience. And occasionally, sometimes people who are going through these procedures, they bring someone with them who also needs to continue to work and needs reliable Wi-Fi. That's what we do. Do you hear how I've answered the question? You did not hear the words Airbnb business, did you? Because see, ultimately, who you serve is what your company does. So let's try it again. Different type of customer this time. Well, what do? Well, you know how like right now there's a whole pandemic happening? Yes. Well, we found that there's a number of elderly individuals who would prefer to isolate somewhere other than a nursing home. And what we've been able to do is to work with the families who want to make sure grandma has a safer place to stay for a while until things get back to normal where she's used to living. Oh, well, that makes sense. Do you see what happened there? Again, that is who we serve. That is what we do. It's not how we acquire the customer. How we acquire the customer, completely irrelevant. What is relevant is what they're asking. They want to know who you serve. How does this thing work? Okay. Now, let me answer the other question, because some of you might think I'm actually trying to avoid saying the word Airbnb. I'm not. I'm just trying to make sure it is properly positioned and understood, because the industry of what we do and the way it's done is new to almost every landlord you're going to talk to. Okay. Because see, they CNN, CNBC, ABC, CBS, they've all told them what an Airbnb business does, but they've never encountered you before because you're not an Airbnb business. What you do, though, is you do provide temporary housing to people, right? Now, when they ask you, is this Airbnb? One of the things you always want to do is you want to find out, like, why did they ask that? That's an interesting question. Can you tell me more what you think that is, or why did you ask that? Now, I'm not afraid of the question, but I do always want to know, what are they thinking now? Because maybe they have some prior experience. Maybe they were looking to get into the short-term rental world themselves, okay? You don't know. I've had a gamut of all kinds of answers here. But ultimately, you want to answer their question. I answer it as follows. Well, we like to acquire our customers from many different sources. So sometimes we have a direct relationship with the company or the hospital, as I mentioned. We also go to local networking groups, either online networking groups as are happening now, or in person whenever we get back around to that, to develop relationships with business professionals so that we can, again, provide more quality temporary housing to people. Now, obviously, like every other business on the planet today, we also use online methods to attract our customer. For example, we may and often do use online marketplaces that you may be familiar with. Some by the name of Booking.com, HomeAway, Flipkey, Airbnb, and many others. However, regardless of how we find the customer, we will always screen them, because you may not realize this, but we're about to make a very significant dollar investment into the furniture, fixtures, and equipment inside your unit. And we can't just have anybody staying there. But let me ask you this question. Have you ever gotten a tenant from Craigslist? Now, guys, I know that was a lot. That's also why I went a little slow, very methodical, blah, 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 blah. You'll be able to take your time, hit pause, and rewind and do all the things that you want to do later. My point, though, that I want to highlight is I just said a whole lot. And then I ended with the question being, have you ever gotten a tenant from Craigslist? Now, I've already answered their question and I've told them everything, but I don't think I'm assuming, and that's why I'm asking the question, that they haven't made the connection. So I'm going to ask the question to help the connection sink in. Oftentimes, when you ask the question, hey, have you ever gotten a tenant from Craigslist? Every landlord I've ever asked that to says yes, absolutely. Got it. Now, if in your country you don't have Craigslist or you have some other classifieds where you can get your tenants, this is the document or the online marketplace that I am referring to. So just ask them about that. And when they go, yeah, I've absolutely gotten my tenants from there. Okay, cool. That makes sense. That's good business. So let me ask you this question though. When that person came in, did you just let them in, or what did you do next? Oh, we screened them. Oh, okay, got it. So you wouldn't let anybody stay here without screening them, right? No, of course not. Yeah, me neither. So it doesn't matter where they come from. What matters is what happens after the name and number is generated. And that's what we do. And see, now it's like, oh, I get that. We've bridged the knowledge gap. Okay? We've bridged the knowledge gap. So regardless of how we acquire them, Airbnb, direct, what have you, they now understand what our process is. So it doesn't matter so long as this process is in place. Oh, yeah, well, great, cool. Then let's do this. So understand, you can get through all of what sound like objections when you're talking to the right person, which is why I've always recommended that you talk to owner-controlled buildings. Owner-controlled, meaning not a real estate investment trust, not the shiny building that is down the street with all of the amenities. An owner-controlled building usually has an owner whose name you can find out easily, or their property, if they do have a property management, they have their cell phone number and can call them immediately. Or they're the person you're talking to. It's really simple to get in front of the owner. You're not talking to their regional, you're not talking to the community manager, you're not going through all of these hoops. If that is what you are experiencing, the reason you're having a challenge is because you're talking to the wrong kind of landlord at the moment. Now, I know you're going to say, but Jay, I did it this way and I got congratulations. I'm glad you did. What I have given you, though, is what I know and what we have documented as the most sustainable way to build the business long term. REITs can and do change their mind quickly and often without warning and no compassion. It's not an issue for them. If they're executing a business model and beholden to completely different things, you need an owner. Okay? So when you go through the process and do exactly, I gave you the exact words, right? So hopefully you were able to capture that and write it down. You will increase your success ratio greatly. Now, here's the thing. The conversation that we're talking about right now, that conversation should happen in person when you're walking the property. That's when it should happen. And you must ultimately understand that you should be spending time disqualifying the property more than being qualified by the management, because not every property is going to fit your customer. If, however, you've chosen, it'll be faster. I don't need to do that. I can skip that step. I can just go straight to the property, Jay. Cool. This is where you will begin to have trouble, because you won't be able to properly describe who it is that you serve and what it is that you do. Nor will you be able to choose which type of property you should have. You will have questions like, should I use a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom? What about a studio? How about the 4th floor? What about a big old house? Will that work? And my answer is, depends on who you want to serve. There is no other answer, because all of those and more are being used as temporary housing. You've seen the ads for the taxis, the tree houses, and all the other missile silos, airplane fuselage, and whatever that corn, the thing that I don't even know what it's called, but where you put all the feed and the corn, whatever, that too, okay? So it's not an issue of can this work? It's not even an issue of which city and geographic area. Guys, we have actively practicing students in 16 different countries, languages I don't even speak, who are using the same system because it is based upon you being a human and your guest being the same. Period. Because our brains and neurological systems are very, very similar to each other. We all want very, very similar things. Yes, there are cultural differences, but guess what? People like a roof over their head. And they like it a certain way or near certain things. Universally. Just the way it is. And that's what the system is based upon, and that's why it works. That's why I'm not concerned about the Lamborghini. I'm concerned about the operator. I'm concerned about the operator taking expert tools and learning to use those expert tools expertly. So hopefully that makes a lot more sense. When it comes down to it at the end of the day, when done properly, you will hear things like, how many units do you want? You will hear things like, wow, we should do this, huh? Or, you guys are different than the other people. Yes, those are words you should hear because you are being very transparent. You're being upfront. You are not trying to hide it under. You're not afraid of a no. You have a solution to a problem and it works. And the marketplace needs it now in your neighborhood. We've had a number of students in the last few days and weeks get additional units. I think I saw a post from Emily earlier, I think, today, in fact, or maybe that was yesterday. She's like, I'm looking at getting another 3 units. And I know yesterday, I think there was a guy named Jack. I just got another one. And then, I know JD got one last week. And Angela, she's in the chat. She just got 3. And then there's one more person. He's Indiana. Lewis. I think he got 2. All in the last week, guys. So it's not an issue of anything other than supply and demand and what's the need. And that's when people are actually exchange, currency for services. That's what this is. And your landlord is a customer. It's a type of customer. We play in the arbitrage world. We're playing 2 different customers. When you own it, you still have 2 different customers. One's a bank and the other's the same person staying at the short-term rental. You have the same thing, same situation going on. Okay. So you end up with a landlord who is your customer and you end up with the person who's actually staying there. They're both your customer. And you can serve them well because you are solving problems for them, right? You're just solving problems for them. That's what we do. That's how it's done. That's why it works. That's why it will work for you because it's not based upon your individual talent, okay? That's not to say that your talent isn't helpful or applicable in some way, shape, or form. It's not about you. It's about providing clean, safe, affordable housing to individuals who need it when it matters most. And you just have a very, very simple equation to deal with. A traditional landlord, as I said previously, sells 365 days on one contract. That is the wholesale model. We are the retail model. We sell each day individually on one contract each day if we have to. So we just don't wholesale the days and we make the difference in between. Just like those of you who have ever looked at or thought about a vending machine. That's all. No different. Just applied to real estate, a product or service. That is, well, now we all know the definition of essential and therefore applied to something you know is recession proof. You know this because you like a roof over your head. See, the business proposition or value proposition is not that complicated. Learning to market it, learning to operate it, learning to outfit your locations, learning to think like and see and interpret the opportunity in your own neighborhood, learning to use the tools and that we have given you and are continuing to give you. These expert tools require time in your hands. You will never become an expert with any tool just listening to someone tell you about it. You must learn to use it. So with that, here's the bonus material for today. You'll be able to find the link inside the groups like we talked about previously. But what I want to share with you is this. Again, it's free. It's made by Thomas Ritter and Karsten Lund Peterson from the Copenhagen School of Business. I know. You spend your free time looking at the Copenhagen School of Business, right? Anyway, it comes from a concept they call alignment squared, but ultimately this is the answer. See, the difference is those of before coronavirus, BC, before coronavirus, many individuals were like, hey, all you got to do is just stand in the way of this river of money and I'll get paid. Meaning you didn't have to be good. You just had to be present. Today, you now have to be good. How do I get good, Jay? You learn to use tools like this. And this is a workbook that will help you get even more clear, not only on the business model, but who it is that you serve. And most importantly, during this crisis, when do you need to make changes? How can you position your business to be prepared for the future events to come so that it doesn't arrive suddenly or shockingly and you get caught off guard? Understanding how to use this expert tool is everything. Now, fortunately, this tool has all the directions in it. So all you have to do is read it and do it. Now, as we continue, what we're going to begin to talk about, right, is we're going to begin to talk about some of the systems that you need in order to make sure that this business works the same way that you want to make that happen. Which means that you're gonna gotta come back. Hopefully you have been having fun learning information, being able to apply it. Tomorrow, we're gonna give you an active assignment again. In the same way that today you have now a workbook, and the day before that, we was like, cool, get on the phone. And the day before that, we're like, great, now determine who you wanna serve. See, I am taking you through the steps that you need to be doing, and if you're doing them in real time, based upon where you are, tomorrow, you should be in a position to be able to start making phone calls. Which could mean this weekend, for somebody, maybe you're in a position to begin, keywords, begin to receive yeses from landlords and get your short-term rental business off the ground. That is my expectation. You have the information, or you skipped it because you considered it, I don't need that. I already got one. I don't need that. I didn't need to do that the first time. I don't need to do it now. Again, your choice. I'm just telling you that the individuals whose names I called out earlier, Angela, JD, etc., they did this. This is how they're generating a result in a short amount of time. During a pandemic, when the world and the news is letting you know that the sky is continually falling. So make sure you come back here tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon, these times, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon. 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon. Someone type that in the chat. It's 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon. Okay? That's when you guys come back. Because we've got more information to cover. We want to make sure that you get it, that you grasp it, right? And we're just going to keep helping you take the next step. And we're going to keep drilling in and giving you, literally giving you access to expert tools. And tomorrow we're going to talk about how you can learn to use those expert tools expertly. And all this week I've been telling you that, hey, that workbook that's in your hands right now, that thing is going to be worth some money. Well, tomorrow you're going to know exactly how much. And because of that, I encourage you, go back through day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, because, well, day 4, gotta be here tomorrow. Because when you do that, what's gonna happen is you're gonna wish you did. Because you've never received this much money for completing a workbook, I promise you. You've not had a workbook that's been this valuable in your hands before, but hopefully you'll get it done. And side note, if this has been helpful information for you, by all means, do us a favor. Bring a friend back with you, right? Our intent has been to give you more for free than you got from the thing you paid for the last time, whatever that might have been. We believe we've delivered and will continue to deliver on that exact promise. We want you to become an entrepreneur. Understand, there's enlightened self-interest here. If you become an entrepreneur, you help the economy, which helps us, because if people are paying more, and you're getting the money, that means they'll pay us more. It's awesome, because I want my short-term rental business to be perfect in every way. I want every landlord to understand that we exist and we can solve the problem. And I can't talk to them all. I can't even house all the people. And even if I could, I don't wanna. Because there's more than enough for each and every one of us. As I said before, and I say again, wealth is for everyone. That means you. Make sure you type that in the chat too. Again, be back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Pacific. It's been fun talking to you guys today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.